have a weapon more powerful than their British Empire. And that weapon is our refusal to bow to any order but our own, any institution but our own.
So I go by Haji Free, better known as SimpleBlackTheory in all platforms. I do a lot of fact checking, a lot of history looking and stuff like that, just making sure that people get the right information instead of like the wrong information, because we know that misinformation has been like a useful tool for many people, if that makes sense.
So many. I keep seeing you making videos about this one, the gay black guy that makes Zionist propaganda.
Yeah, Xavier, yes.
I always see you making those videos. He's such an easy one to do because his videos are so obvious and like blatant about it.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't really care about information, but people like him uses his opinion as fact. So it's like, it's so easy to debunk him, but it's so easy for people to fall for the BS that he pushes, although it doesn't make any sense. They fall for it. So it's just like, I have to debunk this easy thing before someone who is ignorant accepts it. What I do want to touch on, because you guys said something that's very important, is the idea of how like misinformation is like used so effortlessly and how people are like trying to debunk it. And I think the reason why misinformation is used so easily is because if people say it's red pill antics, but I don't think it's red pill. I just think that's how society like lives. I think they use society ideas and then they push their narrative. For instance, when we talk about like the patriarchy, we can see that most red pill content comes from the patriarchy that we already live in. So it's like they can push a lie that's already been pushed at us. So it's easy for them to push these things without adding anything new, because it's like this information has already been placed to us since the beginning, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they take kernels of truth and sort of expand on it.
Right.
It's the policeman on the corner being looked at as a friend instead of the instrument of a tyrant.
Right. It's ridiculous.
So, like, how did you fall into the fact-checking side of things? What hit that switch where you're like, oh, I'm going to do this?
No, that's a good question. So originally I was online because I go by the name of SimpleBlackTheory. So my name originally was focused on Black theory, like things that goes on in the Black society, and I theorize why it's going on. So I make theories such as like the Negro dilemma, or we talk about the double consciousness of Black people and such things like that. But it turned more political once I seen how people treated Kamala Harris. Now, in my opinion, I didn't think Kamala Harris was the greatest candidate that we've ever had, but I did think she was a lot more competent than the other candidate that we had, Donald Trump. So once I seen this misinformation, one of the biggest misinformation that I've seen was like Kamala Harris isn't Black, but we know that Blackness is
even
phenotype.
Trump said that.
Right. We know that being Black is phenotypical. It's what you look like, and Kamala Harris looks like a Black woman. So seeing this misinformation being used and people actually believing it, I told myself, holy crap, there's a lot of dumb mother effers out there. I have to set this straight. So once I realized a lot of people believed this initial lie, and then seeing Kamala Harris lose because of multiple lies coming out, it just came to the fact that's like, oh, wow, this became a real job for me, because originally it was supposed to be like some 3 months after the election thing. I tried to expose some people for their lying, then I could continue doing my Black theory. Then I realized that politics is in everything and people are lying about everything, and that lying is becoming a tool. I realized that Donald Trump, and it's not just Donald Trump, but it's multiple people, misinformation is now becoming an offensive tool, but it used to be a defensive tool. So when someone tells you something, you try to lie your way out of it. But Donald Trump is using more as an offensive thing, saying that this is happening when it's not happening, and more people are believing it. So it turns out if we're living in a world where people are lying about the status of our world, then we need enough people to give you the reality of it so we can fight the real problem, instead of someone lying, talking about it's immigrants being the problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I always say that information is a gun and we are the bullets.
Ha, facts. That's a bar. I like that.
In Australia, the misinformation, especially after Bondi, the misinformation that was coming out directly from Israel.
Netanyahu immediately tried to say that it was a Jewish guy or something.
Insane. And now we're seeing essentially Nazi rhetoric coming from people where they're trying to slander both the Palestinian protests and Muslims in general as sympathetic and culpable with ISIS. which is very cool.
And that's just crazy to think. And I think the idea is like the idea of trying to place a certain religion with a certain aspect is just crazy. Because I recently started reading the Quran because of Ramadan. I'm not Muslim, but I do try to find my time to try to learn as much as possible, as much as anything as I can. So taking the time to read the Quran and actually understanding the Quran and what the Muslim faith is and what it means to try to be part of Islam, it's different compared to what people are spewing out there. And the reason why they're spewing these things is because they're pushing these the Christian Zionist ideologies. You know, the Christian nationalist ideas are being pushed a lot more, so more people can be Christian or even a Zionist, if that makes sense.
Do you know what dominionism is?
I've heard of it, actually. I've heard of dominionism.
So we talk about this a lot, but Charlie Kirk, for example, was a dominionist, and they call it the Seven Mountains theory. And it's like each of the mountain peaks is different things like family, society, education. At the peak of all seven mountains, if they can put somebody who's Protestant, then they'll control society.
We are watching the Christian nationalist Seven Mountains mandate play out in real time. Now, this idea was popularized in the 1970s by two men named Bill Bright and Lauren Cunningham, who, while they were in different parts of the country, claimed they had a vision from God that in order to usher in the end times, the rapture, and the return of Christ, that Christians needed to take over society, dominate, and rule it in order for that to happen. They claimed that there were seven mountains of society and culture that Christians needed to take over, and that was family, education, government, media, arts, entertainment, and business. And we are seeing this play out in media.
But Mike Johnson is also a dominionist.
Really?
They literally want to put
Yeah.
Christian Sharia law. It's
That-
wild.
Yeah, they're like Christian, like they really believe in something that you would see like the Taliban believe in with like how their interpretation of Sharia is.
You know, that makes sense when you mention that with Mike Johnson, because I do feel like a lot of people, especially Netanyahu, Donald Trump, I think they're trying to push this revelation of Jesus coming back to Israel. And I think the way they're trying to do this is trying to say that Islam is supposed to be against the Israeli nation and that we're supposed to have this big battle before Jesus comes to save us all. And I think that they're trying to manufacture this spiritual awakening for people.
Yeah.
And this is why we have this war with Iran, which is disgusting. It's just like, we've been doing this because I know you guys know this, but I guess religion is like the number one cause of blood when it comes to war. So it's just like, it's crazy to see this idea happening in the 21st century, seeing that religion is one of the main causes of a massive war again.
I mean, this is why I've been calling this essentially a theocratic fascist holy war. And people fucking hate it when I say this because I'm like, well, okay, so we've got Christian fascists in America cheering on the apocalypse, hoping that this war brings upon the apocalypse. We've got Israel progressing their imperial interests via essentially Jewish fascism.
I don't know who I was watching.
At least in the name of Judaism.
But they said something. It would probably Sam Cedar or something. I was just watching it. They're talking about how the reason they don't care about price raising and like how much the inflation is because they're trying to bring about the end of the world, which is what like ISIS literally believes.
It's crazy that all of this is getting connected because you can kind of see their plans coming together. Because even when we talk about transphobia, I think the biggest reason why we're seeing a lot more bills being a lot more transphobic or anti-trans bills happening is because of these Christian nationalist belief. It's the idea of if God made you this way and you're trying to change this way, then you're demonizing God. And we cannot have a Christian world. We cannot have a world where Jesus come back if trans people are able to do these things. This is why we have to have these anti-trans bills. This is why we have to do these things. And I like the idea of this being a fascist, I can't remember exactly.
Theocratic holy
war.
war.
Yeah, it's exactly that when you put that together, because I think a couple weeks ago, Pete Hegseth was explaining to his military members that this is a God war, that Jesus wants this war. So it's just ridiculous to hear that.
Yeah, and then you look at Iran as well, and they're like, the IRGC specifically, they're like true believers. They are going to die for the cause. They will go to the last man. They are desperate true believers of 12 Shias. It is the three Abrahamic religions, three offshoot sects of the Abrahamic religion in a holy war, and the Iranian people are suffering because of it, further than they were before.
Right. And the United States and Israel are making it more spiritual for them. Not only did you remove the Ayatollah, their leader, but the new leader's family is now gone. You're bombing gas fields that's going to put them in humanitarian crisis. You attacked a school. So now this has to be a spiritual battle for them.
Well, he just said that he's planning on pulling out completely and letting the allies deal with it, which I think is very funny. The fact that you would start shit and then leave.
Yeah, apparently, which is crazy because I do believe Tulsi Gabbard, they asked her, did you tell Donald Trump that if you do attack Iran, that they will retaliate by attacking the Gulf state and maybe closing the Strait of Hormuz? And she didn't want to answer that, which makes me believe that they did mention this and he didn't care.
A week before bombing started, people were asking me about my opinion, and I said it's unlikely because anytime this happens, the Gulf states get attacked, and the OPEC dollar is going to be more influential than whatever motivation they have to bomb. But then a few days went by, and I'm like, I think it might happen.
Yeah. So my question to you guys is, do you think that Donald Trump, let's say Donald Trump does remove the military from the Iranian war and the United States is no longer a part of this? Two questions. Do you think that Israel will go further in the attacks with Iran? And do you also think that Cuba will be taken over by Donald Trump if he leaves
Cuba
Iran?
The question's complicated. I think they might move on Cuba if they pull out of Iran for sure, considering Venezuela. But when it comes to Israel, they're going to continue the current course they're on regardless. I mean, how many countries have they bombed now? I think I was watching Sam Cedar and they were like, 9 countries. Put that in a European context.
It's up to 9.
If 9 countries were bombed in Europe...
Oh, World War III would have been started.
Yeah, like imagine if Ukraine had expanded and Russia bombed 9 neighboring countries.
Well, it would be Ukraine would be the 9th one, you know?
Yeah, that would definitely put a turmoil. And that is weird when you guys do mention that, because it is crazy how multiple countries don't want to touch this problem, and it's becoming a regional war. But in retrospect, there's more than 18 countries a part of this battle as we speak. So it is crazy how they're trying to maintain it solely on a regional war, but there's multiple countries affected on this.
Iran is also not going to surrender. Like, they've seen another opportunity to solidify their control, and they're going to take it. It's just the Iran-Iraq war again, and they're going to try and solidify their control after the last couple years where they've been slipping a little bit.
I actually love this conversation. It's kind of sobering because you kind of realize how stupid this war is, because in retrospect, you realize that Donald Trump proved that Iran needs to continue their defensive capabilities. They just proved that if they continue working on their missiles, continue working on their drones, they can survive a battle with the strongest military we ever had. In fact, I think Donald Trump proved that our military might not be the best, that spending trillions of dollars on your military doesn't mean you have the best military, because this asymmetrical war just showed you that America can't win it all. I do believe that America is toning down their effects, and I do think they can be a lot more destructive. And I do think there's a reason, because I do think if they do that, it becomes more humanitarian crisis, and then it affects their goals for regime change. But I also think that Iran may also have some things in their arsenal that we haven't seen. Recently we discovered like they're using their old missiles, they're using their old drones to waste America, and America recently just asked for $200 billion for the war. So we do have to question the intelligence aspect of this. So
I think the first year of Iraq was half that. They asked for 200, right?
Yeah, I think we spent almost 800 billion altogether. So us getting a quarter already, mind you, I think we spent over $11 billion for the first week or so. So I do think that the capabilities hasn't been shown, but it also becomes a financial problem where, are we able to use that capability in a way where it's not going to be a financial problem? Because again, they're using $1 million missiles to strike down 30,000 drones, and these drones are coming in dozens. So it's just almost like, are we able to reach that capability without harming our funding? Because our funding is being harmed as we speak. So it is a problem that America does have. We're able to destroy Iran, but are we able to destroy Iran without destroying ourselves?
You also have to question whether America is still trying to keep up this facade of like spreading democracy. Like, is that still their goal here? Like, is that still their facade? Is that still the story that they're going with? Okay, so the Iranian government slaughtered a bunch of their people in January. Is that what the excuse is? Are we just using the bodies of Iranian people to justify fascist expansion for Israel? Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
And they
like,
just
when
executed
would people
someone.
care? Yes, a 19-year-old wrestler.
Right.
They executed him for
Yeah.
attending that protest. So not only did they do all that, but they're still killing people because of those protests while being bombed. And I saw a video.
And if the numbers are right, potentially they've killed 1% of their own population.
As high as.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Yes.
And it's like, and the problem with talking about this this kind of stuff, especially in like online, is how many people are just in such reactionary ways supporting the Islamic Republic because America's bombing them, ignoring everything that they've done. And that's not justifying America's bombing campaign. This isn't how you do it, right? Maybe if we cared about the Iranian people, we would have paid attention 20 years ago. But where the fuck were people 20 years ago? Where the fuck were people 10 years ago? You know, where have the people been? But all of a sudden they care about Iran? Like, save me your crocodile tears. Let me know when you actually start caring about the people.
No, you hit the nail in the coffin. If we actually see the historical conditions that the Iranian people lived by, we have to blame not just the American society, but the Iranian regime that's currently active. And people are misplacing that. I have these debates with people, and then when I do talk about how bad America has been, they sit here and be like, well, do you want the Iranian regime to still be there? No, but I do know statistically using airstrikes and naval battles is not going to change the regime. In fact, Iran, since the beginning, since Donald Trump has become president, they have been hardline since the beginning. And they have let Donald Trump know, if you do anything towards us, it's only going to get worse. And we've seen this, which is why it's kind of confusing. And this is why talking about Cuba does get complicated, because we know that Cuba is facing a humanitarian crisis way before America got into it, but it's gotten worse. So now the question is, should the Cuban people suffer even more for regime change that might not happen? Because the way we're doing, because I'm sorry, I think the best regime change that we've done was for Germany. And that was a collective, that was a collective thing. Countries came together to do that. It wasn't two countries doing it together and change.
A lot of countries did also come together for Iraq, but it was obviously under America's web.
Iraq, I don't know, like that's something that has to be touched on a whole nother level. But I do agree that Iraq did have a number of other countries aligning with each other. But it does get complicated when you even mention Iraq's history too.
I mean, Saddam is a very interesting character as well. Like,
Yes.
when I was researching Gulf War syndrome,
That's
to
a
figure
thing?
out oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's acute sarin exposure because of
Yeah,
the
so basically
sarin
the
they
United
were
States lied
disposing
about
of.
the weapons that Saddam had.
Right.
So when the demolition teams went in and blew up those bunkers, the nerve agent went into the air and vaporized, and they didn't give the soldiers adequate protection, and they knew they didn't have adequate protection. So the United States basically deliberately exposed a bunch of soldiers to nerve agent.
They blamed it on burn pits. They've been trying to
What?
shirk responsibility since it happened.
Holy
And I was looking into it, and boy, the West gave everything to Saddam.
Yeah.
Chemical weapons.
So
sarin,
basically a lot of it
chlorine.
gets smuggled. It was smuggled through
France
the Czech
gave
Republic.
them nuclear stuff.
Yeah, France literally helped Saddam build nukes. Well, his nuclear reactor. But like the nerve agents and stuff, like there was nerve agents that came from the UK. And that's why they lied about it and purposely exposed soldiers, because they were protecting our allies who gave him weapons of mass destruction.
Wow.
There's video of them inside the
Wow.
bunkers too, where they show that the weapons are from the UK.
General Schwarzkopf stated that we identified our weapons by color coding. According to Sergeant Topolsky, the colored bands identified biological and chemical munitions inside the Camisea bunker complex. According to Sergeant Topolsky, The yellow or purple bands indicate chemical munitions. The green bands represent biological munitions. General Schwarzkopf also said he could not identify munitions, especially if they had Iraqi markings on them. You will also note these munitions were plainly marked in English and indicated these munitions were supplied by countries like Jordan, England, Russia, as well as the United States of America.
That's crazy. That just shows that the Middle East has always been used as a game for other countries. I mean, when we talk about the Contra, the Contra Iran, I can't remember
Iran-Contra.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
sold missiles to him.
Right. Even when the Iran-Iraq war and they were funding Iran at some point, it's just like, it's just crazy. And I do believe America helped create Iran's first nuclear reactors. It's crazy to see how the West can manipulate the Middle East so much. It's like we've seen this happening year by year, how the West is going to engage with some parts and then not engage with other parts and make them seem like the bad guy. And then now there's a whole battle that's happening. It just gets scary.
Look at Israel's actions, and
Yeah.
they've already bombed Iran multiple times in the course of their genocide of self-defense. When was it going to escalate to this either way? They dog-walked the United States into this, and this was always Israel's plan. I don't think this was ever not their plan.
What we were talking about, how people would support the IRGC because America is attacking them. So it's almost like the left will accept any information that will disavows the right, no matter who they are.
I mean, look at the Netanyahu hand thing that just happened, right? It's
Yes!
compressed video and phone video. You're all idiots.
Pixels, my friend, pixels. That's what convinced you to think that was AI. And it's just ridiculous. And the next day, and you know what's so ridiculous? Because I think the same day or the next day, there was a video of Netanyahu at a coffee shop, and then people are saying that the way he's holding that coffee is AI, and it's
How did the foam not spill out the cup?
and it's just like, we're just as bad as people supporting Donald Trump, and he's a known pedophile protect. It doesn't make any sense to us.
It's the exact. I think John said this the other day. It's the exact same as MAGA acted with Biden when he was
and that was before AI.
Yes. What? Yes. This
It
man
was always Biden's fake.
Kamala Harris. They should have been a primary for. Well, technically, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, I do believe the Democrats choose.
Primaries are fake.
Right, yes. Primaries, literally it. We sit there and we just watch the same people pick the same person.
Kamala was promised to them.
Literally, and then technically, legally, she had to run because the money that was given to Biden was for Biden and Kamala. So it's just I
never thought about it like that. That's very interesting.
And that's why she had the most money. I said Kamala Harris. And that's why she made the most money from any Democrats that ever happened, was because of that. So if she would have not run, what would the money go to? People will start suing. And Donald Trump, he has smart lawyers. Donald Trump's lawyers are smart as hell. Donald Trump may be a dumb person, but his lawyers are geniuses. So they would have used that to play this effect. So it makes sense why she ran, but it didn't make sense on why people thought that the primary should have happened when they didn't have any choice at all.
It was also just so easy for the right wing to be like, oh, they didn't democratically choose her.
Yes.
It was just so easy because Biden was just stubborn.
Well, it wasn't only
so long.
the right wing, because what the issue is, and it's especially with the Iran network. So there's this group, it's called NIAC. It's similar to AIPAC, but it's just the Iranian version. And just like how a candidate taking AIPAC money isn't necessarily a reason not to vote for him, because basically all of them take it, right?
Yes.
And that's the same with this group too. And on the surface, what they advocate for is removing sanctions because those sanctions are hurting the Iranian people.
Fucking them out.
But they, for example, during Cop City, Nyack had people there to interfere with the anarchist movement that was going on to push it into more of this weird thing. And so they're also just like AIPAC, where they get into Instead of getting into right-wing movements, they get into left-wing movements. Like Ilhan Omar, huge NIAC candidate, right? And then it's like they already attack her for everything else. So it's like, are we going to let them get away with all their racist shit just because she takes NIAC money?
Right. Ah, man, but this just shows how complicated the political world is. Because, like I said, I've always been in politics. I wasn't an individual who wasn't into politics and then seen Kamala Harris and decided to get into it. I started speaking a lot more online. I've been doing a lot of research and doing stuff on my own. But it's just like entering the political field and actually analyzing it. You can see the complexity in this, and you can see that even the good guys can quote unquote be bad guys, because like you said, like everybody takes APAC money. For instance, I know that Jasmine Crockett was I believe was running for.
That's my example. Is
Right.
We love Jasmine Crockett, but she
Right.
does take APAC.
We found her ages ago, and we were just waiting for the Conservatives to start noticing her. And just, the reactions were exactly what we expected.
Right.
And she's so perfect for them because they hate black women.
Yes.
And she doesn't give a fuck. She will fight them. It's so funny.
And when I talk about the left, it's just like people think the left is so right, but you also have to understand the inherent racism they have within there, because their excuse for not voting for Jasmine Crockett is because she takes APAC money. But then when you look at her historical voting records when it comes to Israel, some of them not so great, but others, it's a lot better than what most people are doing. And then they try to say that James Tallarico is a better candidate. First of all, James Tallarico wasn't in Congress, so he didn't have opportunities to vote to these things. So we don't know what he will do when he gets there. But it turns out that he too was taking APAC money. It may not have been the same way as Jasmine Crockett, but it turns out that he's also taking APAC money too. So it's just like we start to question how realistic is the left being. And this is why I have to say the left is exactly the same as the right. People would sit here and be like, well, our ideologies isn't the same. That's true. But the way we interpret our ideologies or the way we try to push our ideologies are no different, because misinformation is a tool that we use as well. And a lot of people question why I don't try to debunk most of the left when it comes to their misinformation. Well, to be honest, most of my algorithm is attached to the right because of how right. So, but most of the time when it comes to the left, I tend not to watch what they say. It's more in conversations when they push some bullshit where I have to correct them. Sometimes someone who's good can be bad. That's how politics are. You can't sit here and say that everyone is good in politics. That's just hard to say.
I mean, it's like the judgy armchair leftists who poo-poo the Kurds for using the US, right? And it's like, well, the Kurds are literally facing 4 fucking countries that want to wipe them out. Like, if they want to use the fucking United States to help them out,
they also get
who
stuff
gives a
from
shit?
Israel and Iran.
like
Iran and Israel both give them guns.
And on top of that, before APOism took off, they were appealing to the Soviets. Like, they're just wanting help.
And you know what? And that's a human thing, because that's the exact example for why in slavery, why when you talk about certain African tribes kidnapping other African tribes and selling them into slavery, motherfucker, they wanted guns, they wanted food, they wanted so when you're offering, and it's just like the Kurds are getting offered assistance to maybe take over Iran, which obviously it's not gonna happen, but if you're being offered these things...
I don't think it's taking over Iran. I saw from some Kurdish sources that they were just wanting to take back Iranian-occupied Kurdish majority areas.
Oh, okay.
That's what I saw. That's the information I saw.
That said, those pretty much extend down to the capital. They get pretty
really
close to the capital.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I gotta look it down. I'm not gonna lie. I'm telling you. I'm sorry. First, I have to say this conversation has been amazing. I'm learning a lot. It feels good to talk to people that like know more than surface level politics, if that makes sense.
This is what we try and do with our stream, is to try and get people, like we try and bait people in to try and get them to
Hey, you want to
come
hear
in
a
and
joke?
challenge what we say.
You
We've got
hear
a
a
few
joke
people
that I
who
read
don't
today?
agree with us. Go on.
Yeah.
What's the difference between Vietnam and Iran?
Oh, what?
Trump knew how to get out of Vietnam.
That is actually funny.
You want to hear something really mind-blowing? The U.S. also helped install the Ayatollah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, a lot of the leftists support the regime because they're like, well, it's a socialist revolution. Well, no, the Islamic regime sniped the revolution. They literally killed the revolutionaries. They did a Soviet thing.
But there's like there's literal letters with the CIA where the Ayatollah is still in France, and he's trying to convince them to back him because
I
the
didn't
Shah's,
know
the
that.
Shah's dying of cancer, right?
He's
So
dying from cancer? Sorry,
Yeah,
this is new information.
in America. So the Shah isn't even in Iran when the revolution happens. He's dying from cancer, and he doesn't care about his country anymore in America. The Ayatollah's in France, and France thinks that if we just let him talk publicly, people are going to see how crazy he is. And he goes out and he's like has this really chill conference where he just brings everything down and like sells this illusion that he's a moderate. And then he's writing letters to the CIA and stuff saying that, no, I'm going to need weapons to defend myself from the Soviets, and I'll give you good deals on oil. And so the United States actually had control of the secret police in Iran. So when the protests broke out, the United States are the ones that gave the order for them not to repress the protest.
That makes so much sense. When I was doing research, it kept saying that the Ayatollah was able to take over Iran. I was like, that's weird because the original like revolution had nothing to do with the religion. So I was like, how were they able to embed themselves in this? That makes a lot more sense on how they did that. Mind blown. What? I gotta do my research on this. Y'all got me doing homework today. That's crazy. Because I was wondering.
There's a BBC article about it. It's like one night in January or something like that.
That makes a lot. Because I do understand. Like, well, obviously, United States and I think UK were a part of why the Shah was embedded. And I think after Black Friday, that
It was
messed them
mostly
up.
the UK. The CIA gave some assistance to rebels,
Right, okay.
but it wasn't enough for anything to actually happen.
That makes sense. People have been questioning if the United States was really a part of it too when it came to that. So that makes sense. Wow, that is crazy.
A lot of history that people don't want people to know. Because
No.
it complicates this my team, your team campism thing. And if you keep up the campism, then you can maintain the division. But
And
if
the
people are
CIA the
actually
whole
aware-
time was saying he's lying. We evaluate this as a lie.
They're evaluating themselves. That's funny.
And so they're telling the president, don't believe him. Don't believe him. Didn't work. They didn't listen to the CIA.
Again, it's just crazy the more you know, and it's just horrific. I mean, like, till this day, we don't know. Well, obviously, we know the exact reason why we're in this war with Iran, but it's the fact that the United States isn't able to give us a coherent reason on why we're in this war with Iran.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
so many
because
reasons.
America's information warfare infrastructure is dog shit. That's the difference. Russia,
Well-
China, Iran, it's
Iran's is
so
really
much
good.
better.
Iran is
Iran
good.
and Israel are really good at
So
doing
good.
cyber warfare and information.
Honestly, it's crazy how when the war started, it was hard to see these drones attack Israel's defense system because of the Patriot or THAAD. And now you're hearing how these drones and these missiles are actually hitting Israel, and you're wondering, do they have enough THAADs? Do they have enough Patriots? Because they're actually getting hit now.
It's also, this is like the philosophy they had around back in the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, is like they gave him a Stinger to take out a Hind helicopter and other airplanes. It's a small cost for a Stinger missile. The plane costs 100 times more than the missile.
Oh man, like you said, like yeah, and you know what though, America's intelligence is kind of is crap. I mean, just the other day, the director of the intelligence committee just said that it's not her job to let Donald Trump know if there's an imminent threat. That's literally your job, is to know if there's danger beforehand so we can respond on time.
Well,
So
the head of counterterrorism decided to up and quit and be like, there was no imminent threat. You are literally lying. I cannot, in good consciousness, continue this position.
Right.
And that's so damaging.
And people are trying to discredit him, saying that, well, he was like basically being investigated for giving information to, they're saying that they was giving information to Tucker Carlson. So they're like, yeah, like he was giving information to Tucker Carlson, so that's why he hasn't been in talks in months. First of all, the war with Iran has only been less than a month old, and he's the director of counterintelligence. He don't have to be in that interview in those meetings to get the documents to know what the hell is going on. He's literally the head of the counterintelligence. I think his information is going to be brought to Donald Trump. So I think he knows his information before Donald Trump. So for you to tell me that he doesn't know this information just questions how good the intelligence committee is. It's ridiculous. And again, it just goes to show how dumb America can be. That propaganda is enough to sway you to believe.
On that as well, like not even the right wing. I've been seeing, and John's been seeing this as well, as people on the left trying to see. I don't even know if I can say it's people on the left. It has to be foreign agents, because they're trying to gaslight them into ignoring any attack and being like, well, it's going to be Israel doing a false flag. Well, what the fuck if it's not?
Yeah, so
like we've been seeing Nazis. Hold on, John.
There was literal 2 attacks in one day, right?
Yeah, but we've also been seeing Nazis raid military bases for like the last month, or sorry, the last years, and a military base just had drones stolen from it apparently. So I've been seeing people trying to connect these things and being like, oh, well, there's going to be a false flag. I'm like, there's no connection here to say that there's going to be a false flag. Like, we've seen Nazis get arrested who raided fucking military bases for military equipment. Like, this is a thing that has been happening. Like, there's more than one group that exists. And there are accelerationist Nazis who are out there taking advantage of the chaos that are just going unnoticed. And it's like people don't give a shit. And I'm not saying that that's who stole these drones. That's not my
I get what you're
my
saying.
assertion is that it could be literally anybody, and assuming that it's going to be used for a false flag by Israel on the United States is absurdity.
And it's so true. And you know what? I do believe it's the left as well. They're pushing this idea that there's no such thing as Iranian sleeper agents. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that Iranian sleeper agents came during the Biden administration, but I do believe that there's sleeper agents in America. Why wouldn't there be?
They're also not what
Solomon
people
Rushdie
think.
was stabbed in the fucking eye like 2 years ago.
Right. Facts. I think you guys mentioned the fact that like in the left trying to show support to the Iranian regime, even to the fact that like they're basically condemning I won't say condemning the death of the Ayatollah leader. Obviously, how they did it, I don't think it was smart. Getting it done, hey, I mean, it got to get done. I mean, I wish it was done a different way, but I do think it's stupid for the left to try to show that the regime needs to stay. Some of these people are so anti-Trump that they don't realize that some of these things are actually real. Like sometimes that what Donald Trump says is sometimes true. And it's hard to have these discussions because
it's
like
very contradictory, and it really it's a struggle to actually be like, okay, well, what Trump is saying here is actually correct. I know this to be a fact.
Yeah.
And me saying this is not supporting Trump. This is me knowing that this is true and knowing that he isn't lying at this time. He could be using this fact as further jumping off point to lie.
Yes. And he's
but it
good
doesn't
at that.
mean that he's wrong about that one thing. And it's
he kind of just throws shit at the wall and sees what sticks, honestly.
Yeah, and this is why I say Donald Trump's teams is a genius. Because if I'm being honest, even if Donald Trump messes up Iran and leaves, I think Cuba may save him. Honestly,
possible.
Cuba, he has Cuba in the palm of his hand. I cannot see Cuba, and like China's not going to help Cuba. Russia claims that they're going to help.
China's not going to really help anyone.
Exactly, like they're focused on which is pretty smart. Like if I was China, I'd be focusing on my country. And Russia claim that they're going to help. But come on, Russia's in the Eastern Hemisphere compared to where Havana is. So so Cuba is not going to get that much help.
Going back to what you were saying before about like Trump being right about certain things, but that doesn't mean that you're like necessarily supporting them. I find that a lot of people are very capable of seeing through America's state narratives. But anytime it comes to anybody who professes any kind of anti-US sentiment, their state narratives go right over their head. Like they'll literally parrot state media, state narratives from the state, and not even question what they're doing.
That's so
and
true.
Then on the same hand, go and look at Donald Trump or the State Department making statements about Iran and being like, well, that's obviously a lie. Well, no shit. But you're literally repeating the State Department of a foreign country who is equally as repugnant. And if we're talking about China, they're a UN Security Council state. Like the UN Security Council literally defends the 5 countries' imperialist interests. That's the whole point of it. Like they are the 5 top countries, most powerful countries in the last 100 years, and they have total control over everything. And
some would
guess what
say
they never
countries
do?
didn't really exist 100 years ago, but
and this is why I say you always have to read the original document. You always have to read the original source because this is pure facts. One thing I have to highlight because a lot of people may be asking, well, what is one thing that Donald Trump has done that you agree with? One thing I would say is Trump RX. One thing about Trump RX, like I did research on IVF, like medication. Trump RX is cheap as fuck. I was surprised how cheap it was. Like I was looking at like Mark Cuban's website on his IVF medications. It was like $200-$300. Trump got it like almost $50-$60. And the amount you get for it, it's crazy. So that's one thing that I have to accept. But to go on in the idea of people using media as sources, but then when Donald Trump says something, it's a lie. A lot of these medias are making money off of these things like the war. So they will push these ideas. I can't believe, I think it was CBS, and Joy Reid was part of CBS, and she came out and she said that basically CBS had to make sure not to say certain things because they had money in certain aspects of these things, and what they say influence how the stock market would run. And that's what people need to understand, that America is a big capitalistic country, that everything is surrounded by cash flow. Everything is surrounded by money.
It's a real problem in Australia. Like all the country newspapers, Murdoch. There is no alternate media out there.
Oh man, yeah. So the idea is having one man who has both a liberal aspect of news and then a conservative aspect. Even Amazon, I think Amazon owns We the People, if I'm not mistaken.
They own Washington Post, I think.
They own Washington Post. Holy fuck! We the People, Washington Post. I gotta yeah. So I know they own I know they own a news source as well. And mind you, Amazon, they're big when it comes to AI. So they have rhetorics they have to push themselves. It's not far-fetched to see that these news sources, these news companies, and this is why monopolizing is getting crazy here in America, because these companies, in order for them to make money, they can no longer be in one resource anymore, because Amazon, look at Amazon. Amazon is no longer selling one item. They're selling multiple items, and now they're outsourcing those items to other types of things they can sell. They're even going inside medicine. It's because they have to monopolize. And if they're going into news, they're monopolizing the news as well. It's only how much information are we getting? When I learned about this Iran stuff, I couldn't get the state information. Why? Because the media in the States were lying. They're constantly telling me what Donald Trump's either saying or Donald Trump is lying. But when you look at other, like the BBC or Al Jazeera, which sometimes can be a little themselves,
PBS is great.
But PBS, I agree. I think PBS is like top 5 favorite for me. Top 3 actually.
Honestly, I think we put them
Probably number one.
Really?
When it comes to American news, yeah.
Damn.
They're
y'all put me on.
They're technically state mandated to be unbiased.
That makes sense, because every time PBS was like literally the only one that has been the most unbiased place that I've gotten my information.
It's funny because when they bring the conservatives on for the conservative angle, they're always like old school neocons, because you can't platform anyone in MAGA because they'll just lie the whole time. So it's been very funny lately for them trying to figure out how to cover the right-wing angle of stuff.
That's so funny because every time I watch PBS, it looks old. Like their episodes.
It's so old. The vibe is so old. It's old school news.
Yes. So it's like even their newer stuff, I'm like, damn, this looks old. Like, so it's just funny to see that.
Good information, though.
It's because they're technically run by a nonprofit. They don't actually
And it makes sense why they're trying to take away that money from them. It makes tons of sense. Yeah.
It's also really funny talking about foreign influence and all that stuff. Trump cutting USAID is probably one of the dumbest fucking things he's ever done in like information warfare efforts, because
Yes.
USAID funded VOA.
Really?
Which is literally,
Yeah, VOA was good too. For
Yes, it was.
American-backed
That's
news.
why. Holy crap! That makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah, like you're literally leaving propaganda vacuums that China, Russia, and Iran are filling because
Israel.
America just
Did
was like,
read
fuck it,
that.
we're not spending money anymore. But you know what we will spend money on? Bombing Iran.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense now. You know what's so crazy? Because when you do these research, when you do these readings, sometimes it takes someone or something to say something for you to be like, that makes tons of sense. It's been in our face, and someone had to say it for you to realize that it's happening. And it's just crazy. I'm not gonna lie, like at the end of this thing, once y'all drop it, I'm about to watch this, take my notes, like I'm about to like get into this. Like it's just crazy. I do have a question for you guys. When it does come to the Iran Israel war, what do you think would be the best outcome based on what's happening now? I'm not asking what
the
you
thing
think
is
should happen.
What's realistic to happen?
Yes,
and what
that's
would be...
the question. The best realistic. The question is the best realistic thing to happen.
I jokingly say that Trump should stay in to kill the next Ayatollah because we cannot leave that dude in power.
Also, you're gonna go for the hat trick, right? You got Soleimani, you got the Ayatollah. You might as well get the hat trick.
He's just...
it
was much better to leave the older Ayatollah in power. He was going to die anyway.
Oh yeah,
his son is
yeah.
much more
clutching onto
radical.
power.
Yes,
And that's what I'm afraid of right there, is specifically that they'll pull out, the son will stay in charge, and he will
Repercussions on the
need
Iranian
to
people.
consolidate his forces, similar to how Assad did.
but do you think that if they do take out the current leader, that it would make it worse because of the idea of removing a second spiritual leader?
The
could,
institutions will
but-
still exist. That's the problem.
So yeah, that's the thing too, is like Iran has a very interesting government. So like I've said for a while that technically Iran could become a democracy tomorrow because they actually have a democratic system underneath the supreme leader. Like they have a council that approves candidates and stuff. So you just remove a few things, including the supreme leader, and hold elections, and it would still have the same government in place. And you would naturally want to give seats to loyalists, because if you don't give seats to those regime loyalists, that's how you get civil war and stuff. Is you need to allow everyone to participate in that government. But the thing
Right.
is,
But you would see massive turnout too.
The-
Iranians would turn out in droves.
the guy who's currently in charge is like kind of the worst case scenario for who could have taken over.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely.
The other thing that I think nobody is worried about but me is Azerbaijan. When Iran hit Azerbaijan, they immediately mobilized their military to the border.
They're on
That's
the border.
true.
And Azerbaijan just fought a war with Armenia. Their army is experienced and battle hardened.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if that's what you want to call beheading people.
I mean, the reason why they were so good against Armenia is because Armenia was pretty much fighting with Cold War weapons. But yeah,
Well, it was,
Azerbaijan is basically has NATO weapons because they're a proxy for Turkey.
Yes.
That makes
But-
sense. That makes sense.
And Turkey's a massive arms manufacturer as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Let me just pull up this
honestly,
map real
Israel and Turkey had a great relationship too, so I can see why.
Well, I
So-
also saw, I don't know how true this is, but I
If
saw
you look
that
at this
Israel
map
was like,
right
Turkey's
here-
the next threat. I'm like,
And-
fucking
What?
So these are ethnic groups in Iran, and at the top here, this purple, this is Azeri. So Azerbaijan has a reason to claim this area because they're ethnically Azeri as well.
So Azerbaijan is really small though, right?
It's not that small, but it's literally right here on the border.
Okay. Oh.
So
You know what this sounds like? Go ahead.
And then the Kurds are in the yellow here, right? So if a Kurdish mobilization happens in these areas, and then Azeri is backed by Azerbaijan, and they start doing operations in the north here, that's where I think it could get really, really bad.
You think it's possible that this may cause like factions within Iran?
It could. It just because Azerbaijan, they're already shown that they want to expand their territory. They just fought an imperial war with Armenia.
Okay,
That kind of
I
was started
correct.
with a false flag too.
Okay, I was correct. Natalie Bennett apparently suggested that Turkey is the next big threat to Israel. And I'm just like, haha, try it. Like,
How does that make
Turkey
sense?
Turkey will fuck your shit up. Like, they
Second
will
largest
not
army
stop.
in NATO.
It's like it's like Israel's like, let's attack our former friends.
Literally
like
everybody, yeah.
the people that were like our closest friends before, fuck them up. That's crazy. What? Turkey? First of all, I don't even think that they're gonna get through Iran without. First of all, they had to go through Iran with America, and after they attacked Iran's gas fields,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
already a
If
problem
America
there.
wasn't involved with the bombings and the bombings instead took place all under Israel, all the missiles that have been pushed out to all these other nations would have all went to Israel.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
So they've benefited from the U.S.
That is true. Holy crap! Because the only reason why the GC is getting attacked is because they're allies to America, and this is what makes Iran smart. Honestly, I think their military capabilities are proving to be one of the best, because the idea was to remove America from the Middle East. And if you're getting these Gulf states seeing, hey, we're only getting attacked because we're allies with you guys, maybe it's best if you guys, I don't know if it's not going to be possible though. That's a lot of money attached to these places. And these places were making a lot of money when they were attached to America. So I don't think Iran would successfully remove America, but I do think they can remove some troops, hopefully.
Yeah, my hope is that there will be major backlash towards the United States, like internationally, especially with Trump throwing his hissy fits when people telling him to fight his own war. I think that is the best possible solution, is people just being like, well, you have the most sophisticated navy in the world, fight your own war. Our boats are gonna get damaged. So what? That's what they're fucking paid for. Go do the job.
You know, and that's so funny because America hasn't been in war for so long, so we had all these munitions like collecting dust and stuff like that. Now we're using it, and now Donald Trump is like, maybe I've wasted a lot. Because to be honest, it's like buying a nice car, a nice racing car, a very expensive racing car, and then having to utilize it. It kind of sucks when you realize that it has to get scratched up, has dents in there, and it costs a lot more to fix. Because to be honest, I don't even think they fix these things. I think they replace it now because it gets too much. They're old. Most of these stuff that you're
the
using.
nukes, I think John said this the other day. The nukes, they just replace the
Yeah, they just
warheads
pull
on
the
new
warheads
rockets.
out and put them on the new missile body. We don't
'Cause
have
they don't
people
have the
who know
tech
how
to
to
make 'em.
make the warheads anymore. Like
What?
that industry's dead.
Oh my! I mean, you know what though? That makes a lot of sense because this might be scaling it up a little bit. But America did kill off their manufacturing work in America, so it's not far
Well,
fetched.
it's basically after the Soviet Union fell, they didn't really see to
Yeah.
keep building new warheads. They
Yeah, and
they continually have been downscaling the warheads that they have.
Oh man, that
All the
Until
warheads are
recently-
also cluster warheads too. So like there'll be like 3 nukes inside one missile.
I thought that was illegal.
No, it's a real thing. Cluster
Really?
bombs are a
I mean,
different
sure,
thing, yeah.
they say that you're not supposed to, but you're gonna tell America to not do something?
We barely heard Israel or even the Gulf states being attacked brutally. We heard missiles and drones being sent to them, but we've always heard, oh, they've been shot down, they've been taken down. Now, recently, we're hearing a lot more of these missiles and drones hitting them, which is crazy because recently Donald Trump said that we obliterated most of their military capabilities, but we're
That's what
finding
they
out
always say.
like, come on,
Oh,
20 drones a day.
Nuclear facilities the other month, but now they're almost getting a nuke again.
Like,
You want
Better bomb 'em.
to hear something else that's gonna totally blow your mind?
what?
On September 10th, Iran told Russia to call the U.S. and said Osama bin Laden is about to attack the U.S. and it's imminent. And then within 10 hours, 9/11 happened.
I thought you were talking about this is recent. I thought that was making
Nah.
a joke.
Nah.
What? What?
You know what else is cool?
Iran and Russia warned the U.S.
You're
hours
lying.
before 9.
Stop.
No, it's don't
Stop.
believe- There's videos of them
Stop.
talking about it.
И я сказал тогда американскому коллеге, знаешь, меня это очень тревожит, такое чувство, что что-то должно произойти. Они явно к чему-то готовятся.
The next day was the 11th of September, 2001.
Holy crap. Yo, my brain is like
They
an
didn't
egg.
specifically say that it was going to be like airplanes and shit. They just
Right.
said
An attack
Osama
is
bin
coming.
Laden's working on something. We should warn the U.S.
Wasn't it recently that we found out that Saudi Arabia kind of funded this attack?
It's complicated.
It's
so
very
like
complicated.
the Saudi royal family is very large.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
so there's
large.
people inside the Saudi royal family that were connected to Al Qaeda, but that doesn't mean that the Saudi government funded Al Qaeda.
No, yeah, okay. No. That makes I read that too. Ah, man. That's you guys have to give me where you get your resources from, okay?
You can watch our 9/11 video.
Oh, best believe I will. I'm not gonna lie. Like I have a list. First of all, like I'm an individual who I don't watch a lot of information. I like to read a lot, but like there's a handful of people that I would watch because like I watch their stuff and then I would research what they're talking about to get more information. That's how I get to know a lot of this information.
I mean, that's basic media literacy.
Right?
I mean,
Yes.
you say it sounds like you go to a further extent than most people going through like reading books and stuff, but even like the most basic form of media literacy is understanding who is talking to you. Like you mentioned about Murdoch, is just understanding which papers are Murdoch papers. And then
Right.
you track, oh, well, they are all saying pretty much the same thing. Oh, and now the right wing is now advocating for foreign countries' people to go and die for Israel.
Right.
How curious.
But you know, people need to understand that watching videos, I think YouTube videos, I think YouTube videos can be a great way to get your resource, especially trying to get resources that you're not able to get from media that's supposed to give you news. Like the information that you guys gave me is information that CNN isn't gonna give, Fox News isn't gonna give. This is something that you have to extensively research on your own. But this is why I tell people, if you're gonna watch the YouTube video, you have to do the actual research as well, because it's like someone can teach you how to build someone could teach you about rockets, but they're gonna teach you the information that they think it's useful for you to know, but they're not gonna tell you the reason why you need to know these things. But if you look at the original documents, then you start to get the real story for these things. This is why learning about how Iran and Russia could have possibly helped America know about 9/11, like this information could possibly help other information on 9/11. Like, let's be honest, 9/11 is probably one of the biggest things that happened in America, but people don't know shit about. Like, it's one of the most things, like, people are still questioning if George W. Bush has something to do with it. Like, it's
I
still
know a lot about 9/11.
Oh, I'm about to watch y'all videos. I'm about to watch the video.
I
It's very
spent a
interesting,
lot of
though.
time.
Did they cover the aluminium stuff in the press, or was that only in the?
Yes, that was in the press, but that
It was in
that
the
was like
press,
10
okay.
years later. So one of the working theories is that they didn't have the science to truly understand why the towers fell. But basically, when the planes crashed, aluminum broke up throughout the towers, right? And then as floors collapsed from the fire locally, pools of water happened, and then molten aluminum dripped into that water, which can be one of the most powerful explosive forces you can create. Is from
That's-
molten
Remember how
aluminum being
how
cooled.
everybody was like, I heard explosions.
Multiple explosions? It would be a chain reaction of the
snap.
aluminum.
Science, guys, crazy.
Yeah.
The towers also weren't built very well.
No, yeah.
They built them as tall as they could without them tipping over to begin with.
It goes to show that tragedy always kind of shows your flaws, because I know the Titanic had a few flaws in itself, and I know the shipwreck helped acknowledge that, or even the bridges. I know some of the bridge collapsed. So honestly, I think that's just humanity working its own. Bittersweet. That's just like humanity. Like something tragic has to happen for us to be like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
We'll go back to just in general about how easy it is to debunk a lot of the conservative stuff, and maybe give a few examples of some of your favorite times of when you debunked them.
Oh, I actually love this question. First, I would definitely let people know, and I've been saying this throughout the whole podcast. It's the original document, the original work. It's one of the best things you can do to help debunk things. It's so like
Yeah,
most people.
you know, you say that. One of the funniest things is we'll ask people for sources when they come into our chat. Every single time, the source they send literally debunks them.
Yes, yes, that's so true. And this is why it's so easy to debunk people online. It's because some of these things that they're saying are so surface level. They're getting a lot of these information in their surface level, and they don't have enough information to back up what they're saying. So I see everything like Socrates. Socrates, his idea is you question everything, and then
Is
you
that the
make
guy
us.
they made drink poison to shut up?
Yeah. Yeah. So Socrates' idea is I'm gonna ask you questions and then I'm gonna make a statement that contradicts your statement, which shows that what you said doesn't make any sense. So for me, one example is the SAVE Act. A lot of people pushes the idea that real ID, all you need is your real ID and you'll be able to vote. That's all you need. But I've read the original document. I've read the SAVE Act from head to toe. The SAVE Act is not that long. It's one of the shortest documents you can read when it comes to the bills. In that document, it literally says you can use your real ID if it tells you if you're a U.S. citizen. There's only 4 states that tells you you're a U.S. citizen on your real ID. 3 of them are blue states. 1 of them are red. The rest doesn't. So you cannot use your real ID to vote. But people have this idea because they're not reading the actual document. Because they know that the document mentions the real ID, then they come to the assumptions. But once you read that document, then you realize that you're debunking yourself because it specifically says that you must have an ID that says you're a U.S. citizen. The document you use to vote has to say you're a U.S. citizen, has to say you were born in America. You can only get that from a government issue ID that says that, or USA or a birth certificate, or this other things. But people don't realize that if you just go on Google and you type in these type of things, that these documents will just pull up on itself. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a fan of AI, but AI can actually be a great, I won't say a source tool, but a great way to find sources. And this is the problem with people who use with AI. People use AI to build their argument or build their sources, and that's the problem. AI shouldn't be used in that way. First of all, you shouldn't be using AI tremendously. AI should be a tool. It shouldn't be like your arm. But so for me, for
Google
instance,
AI is you know, it helps summarize a lot of stuff.
I agree.
And it tells
agree.
you right where it comes from. So
Right. So for me, for instance, so one of the first things that I debunked that actually put me into this realm was the fact that Kamala Harris wasn't black. Obviously, AI wasn't as apparent during the 2024 election as it is now. I mean, obviously it was still there, but it wasn't as useful. I wasn't using AI then. But if I were to use it, what I would do is the first thing I would do is I would try to find a source that he would say. So he says that Kamala Harris's family was born to a white man, right? So my goal is I use AI and I ask AI, can you find me sources that explains if Kamala Harris's family's family tree? And it would give me a whole bunch of sources, and then I would dictate which source that I would read into. I don't use the AI's summary because AI summary, they will lie to you. Like I know that for sure. If you use AI enough, AI will begin to lie to you because they'll just recycle things that you talk about. So this is why you don't use AI summary, you just use the sources. So I tend to use the sources, and I use multiple sources to cross-reference to see how accurate it is, right? Then I also try to use the original source. And that's another thing with Google and AI. People like when they Google things, they try to Google the question, or they try to Google the fact that they're looking for. So like I can Google, do black people commit the most crimes? I can Google that, and Google will find me things that will probably, quote unquote, tell me that black people commit the most crimes. But they're not using Google right. If you use Google right, instead of asking, do black people commit the most crimes, I would ask Google, what are the sources to help me find crime demographics? Because those crime demographics are going to help me better in understanding that. Because once you Google, do black people commit most crimes, most of them are just going to be articles of opinions of stuff, or they're going to be using sources. Sometimes I even use those sources and I find the original work. And that's another problem that people use. But sometimes people find sources that say something, but they don't look into that source. So they'll see a chart, and a chart will say something, or a graph, like a line graph, but they don't look at the notations. The notations will say something. The notations may say that, oh, this graph may be flawed because we only had this certain amount. And this will usually debunk the individuals. So sometimes it's just like Googling is only half the work. It's exactly what you're Googling and is what you're looking for in that Google. Most people
The
Go-
crime statistics are a perfect example because
Well, I
they
was
never
gonna
talk
say,
about
you
the
know
acquittals.
what's crazy about the crime
Facts.
statistic stuff? The guy who was debating Charlie Kirk when he got shot, he was going up there because he had previously already made a video. He's like a math kid, and just showing that Charlie Kirk's statistics on like black crime is completely like, false. But one of the things that he highlighted that I didn't know is that, like, by and large, a majority of the people exonerated for their crimes are black. So that means statistically, black people are convicted more for crimes that they don't commit. And then Charlie is using the statistic on people committing those crimes, but doesn't care about the vindications
Yeah, but
or exoneration.
Charlie's really smart. He's the type of individual where that type, because
Was.
that is facts.
Was were.
Oh, my neck. But Charlie Kirk, because with that idea, that is true. But the also idea is that most exonerations don't even go through. Like, most people don't get exonerated. The amount of people that get exonerated is so little that
Yeah.
number doesn't. But what I also realize is that most people that get convicted are through plea deals. So they don't even go through the actual court system. They don't actually go through a judge or jury. And statistics shows that most Americans can't afford a lawyer. So most times when people go to prison, it's because they have to accept a plea deal because they're broke. And this is why it's like doing the research on this extensively matters. The exoneration numbers are so little that like it doesn't really affect the amount of people that are in prison. But once you look at the amount of plea deals, or if you even look at the amount of times that people actually try to get their ruling overruled or thrown out, it's small. I think it's less than 2% of people that actually get to look at the exonerations. That makes sense. So it's like a lot of layers. It's like when we talk about these things, and there's so much things that I didn't know what you said that plays an effect in it. And it's just like, if people knew that shit, the conversation would have been different. And that's what's crazy.
All right. I think we got 2 hours. I think we're good to go. Thank you so much for coming.
Listen, I enjoyed this so much. I appreciate you guys so much. If you guys ever want me back, I am locked
for
in.
sure.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
Through the years, America has stood as the world symbol for law and order. Anarchy? Well, that was something that was always happening in other countries. Newsworthy, perhaps, but it could never happen here. The policeman on the corner has traditionally been looked upon as a friend, not as the instrument of a tyrant. People in other countries had just reasons to riot against their governments. The nations of the world are dictatorships in one form or another.